time's up. Let's do this.
We're in for a wild night.
Welcome, everyone, to episode 204 of Born to be Wild, a wild and wild adjacent Hearthstone podcast where we have fun, hanging out with friends, talking about the wild and wild adjacent formats of Hearthstone and spotlighting members of the wild community. I'm your host, Hydralisk. It's great to be back on this beautiful evening here in the Vancouver area, and I am joined by fellow host Schmoopiedady. How are you doing?
Father sounds. That's my catchphrase, apparently. That's what's written on here.
For those of you joining us for the first time, welcome aboard. We record this podcast live every Friday evening at twitch.tv/borntobewildhs. And the video version of this podcast is then posted to YouTube shortly thereafter. Audio versions are also distributed to all podcast apps. However you are watching, listening, or absorbing via osmosis this podcast today, thank you. Yes, you.
Content plug. Before we get into the main topic of the show tonight, I'd like to say a quick thank you to Sharkunin and the other patrons of our show. Your support means the world to us. If you enjoy this content, please like, subscribe, and comment to this video on YouTube. Another simple way to support the show is to leave a review on your podcast platform of choice. If you're watching live on Twitch, we've got some awesome emotes that you can unlock by subscribing to the channel. This is free if you use Amazon Prime. Finally, if you'd like to support the show financially, you can join our Patreon for as little as $1 per month. We have some channels in the Discord that are unlocked by subscribing to the Patreon, where you can see the show coming together each week. Check it out. If you'd like to interact with us personally, please join our Discord, a free and amazing online community of friends all across the world who love talking about Wild Hearthstone. Links to all of this stuff and more, including our merch, can be found at our website, which is www.borntobewildhs.com. Hydra, how was your week?
I did not like my week. To say the least, my week was a little hectic. So, as I've spoke about on the show before, I've been doing a lot of schooling, and so I was in 2 different classes throughout the week, and one was the next level of what I was taking before. And if you remember the issues I had at the beginning of the year, I think it was back in January, where I had that instructor that, lost power. There was that whole thing with the snowstorm, and it was a complete disaster. And I got a refund and got to take the course again. This week went so swimmingly. It was great until I think it was Wednesday, right before lunch. So for me, it's like 9 a.m. because this was Eastern time. Our instructor just disappeared. And I'm like, let's give it a second. And the other people in the meeting, I said, this happened before. They'll send an email explaining what happened. So let's just chill and wait. And sure enough, we get an email from the company saying, the instructor has lost power. And I'm like, no. Are you kidding me? Is it actually happening again? I can't go back to my work and say, yeah, it happened again, right? Like, how fake does that sound? But luckily enough, they said, take your lunch break and we'll see if, the instructor's back after. If not, we'll find a solution. And like 5 minutes before lunch break was over, we got a message saying, power's back on. We're all good. Don't worry about it. Huge load off my mind completely. Because I'm like, I can't keep taking a week off of work to do classes and then have to redo it because of some sort of technical difficulty, right? So it was a stressful 1 hour. But also, the classes start early since it's East Coast. So I start at 6 in the morning and then they finish in the early afternoon. But at that point, I'm on to doing work stuff. So early afternoon 2 o'clock or so, then I jump on to doing what I was kind of supposed to do throughout the day while I was at work. So my days were a lot longer than they should be. Working well into the evening till like 8 o'clock at night, sort of thing, 9 o'clock at night, trying to get the stuff done, even though I was doing school. But anyways, I got the certificate from the course that I took, and then, I passed.
More importantly, do you feel prepared having taken the course now twice? Hopefully. Do you know enough to be dangerous at least?
This one's different. This one was advanced compared to the last one. So the first one was horrible. Then I redid the first one because I got a redo for free. And then now it was a level above what I had taken before. So
Gotcha.
In fact, I do actually feel more prepared though, because of hearing some information more than once. It actually was pretty cool. So anyways, got my certificate, and then actually that was the first 4 days of the week, and then the last day of the week, through our new parent company where I work for, they were sending management to this leadership training stuff. So I took part in that today, and then went to work after that, and it's a really neat experience. Doing that thing. It's a 12-week program. So I'm excited to be doing that, just learning, soaking in as much as I can. And then basically, as soon as that's done, I'm squeezing in dailies, right? So we had the event going on. And then I also have to do, so I'm doing the event quests, I'm doing my dailies on Hearthstone, and then I'm doing my Rumble dailies, and there's Rumble events now constantly at all time.
Oh no!
So,
oh no!
And then they
is your guild like Hydra? We're gonna cut you loose if you don't keep it.
No, I have to be on. I have to be. So I make sure, like, I don't care if the lights are out. I'm staying up and I'm trying to make sure. And they instituted the new Sieges thing, which is a 2-person versus. So PvP or player versus environment. So PvE, but it's 2 people team up and go against new bosses and stuff, right? And so after Sieges are the raids that is coming in another like 5 days from now. So it's like a first stage and then a second stage, so Sieges and then raids, and it's pretty neat from what I can see. I haven't lined up with someone in my guild to be able to do it yet. Half our guild is in Australia and the other half's in North America. So like times are a little strange to get it done, and
yeah, I get a little bit of that in my Discord. You got like I have people that say good morning to me or a wave. Like I say good morning at like 6 a.m. and I'll get a wave at like 9 a.m. and then they're gone, and then they're magically back in the afternoon.
Yeah. Oh, one of the worst is actually with Rumble, and I hope they fix this, is when you are playing Rumble, you're on BattleNet, but when you message someone, you can only message like people in your guild on BattleNet. You can't message. So if you ever see me logged in and it says playing Warcraft Rumble, if you send me a DM, I will not see it. I can only see DMs from my guild members. I do not know why it is set up like that, and only within the app. So it's so funny. People will log in and they're on their phone playing this game. And they're like, hey, is there anybody on that wants to run this siege with me? And no, not everyone's on a mobile game at the exact same time. They end up shutting it down because they waited for 10 minutes, and then 3 more people log in like, oh, we missed that message, we want to play. And like it doesn't really line up because you don't see that BattleNet message. It's because it's just not live that way. Like I can't message you while I'm playing Rumble and say, hey, I see you're playing Hearthstone, would you want to come over and do you want to play this with me? Like you can't do it because it's not connected that way. I don't know. I thought it was just a beta thing when it was in beta, but it's still doing it. I don't know. Maybe they're going to connect it all eventually, but if you miss the message, you miss the message. And you can log back in later and you'll see in the guild chat that it happened, but it's too late. That person is logged off at that point. So unfortunately, that's kind of how it is. So also, while I was doing my courses this week, if you noticed, today is May 31st, so we had our month end at work. So while that is why I had to work so much after when I was doing my courses, is we always have that month end push to get a certain amount of dollar value out the door. So it was a pretty stressful week. In all honesty, I didn't drink any caffeine because that would have probably only added to the anxiety of the week. Yeah,
I don't think I would have survived.
Yeah, because I know myself, and if I'm drinking too much caffeine while stressing out about stuff, then I cannot like actually focus. I know for a lot of people, the caffeine will help them focus. It will not. Like I'm done at that point. So I stayed on top of my quests. So I finished the event that we have going on. So I got all the things from the event. I thought it was strange. I did not open any more legendaries. I swear I am at if I have not hit the pity timer is broken, I swear, because I've opened so many whiz bang
Maybe you're
packs.
at like 35 or 36
I gotta be
or 38
so
packs.
close.
You're
And
probably pretty close.
I'd given up about a week ago, and I just crafted the last legendary that I needed. Because like, how many times am I gonna open like more packs? So I had the dust, so I just did it. It was one of the warrior legendaries. Boom Boss. I was missing Boom Boss. Yes, that is the only card I didn't have, and so I just gave up and I crafted it because I didn't know how many more packs I wanted to invest into getting the last legendary that I needed.
Fair enough.
But I'm looking forward to this weekend like you would not believe. Basically, I've been running from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. either in school or work, and then just crashing and then waking up at 5 in the morning and doing the same thing over and over again. So I'm just very, very excited for the weekend. How was your week, Schmoopiedady?
Break it up. My week was good. It's been a while because we had sorted things all go on last Friday, so we didn't have the show. But basically last Friday was like the middle of my Memorial Day weekend. So like a lot of family time because my break, my school didn't use all its snow days. So I had an extended break. My wife had an extended break. Schmoopy had an extended break. My daughter doesn't go to school or daycare yet. So she was home with us underfoot. It was cool. It was actually pretty like stress free and a nice little preview for summer. On stream, I found myself in this weird spot where I was just like, I kind of want to try hard for 11X. And then I was just like, never mind. I kind of don't. And so I was kind of waffling around. And so what I started doing was I happened to discover, this Treant deck that KVLT and Copper Scum were refining, and I was just like, "Oh, this deck's really cool. Oh wow, it's dirt cheap. It probably makes good content." And so I basically last week all my streams were like free to play runs, where I was trying to play up on NA from brand new account. Went through the new player experience, and then with a 7x multiplier based on my exploits. In the new player track, it's not ranks anymore. Remember how it used to be like fake ranks, like in like weird images and stuff?
Yeah, you had to go from like rank 50 down, and then they changed it to 40 down at some point.
Yeah, it's like not that at all anymore. It's not that at all anymore. They ripped that out. It's now its own like reward track, and so like you start the experience, and it's a rewards track, so it has like missions and stuff, and it's like, okay, your mission is to trade with another minion, and your minion survives. So it's like little basic, like, oh, spend 5 turns, use all your mana. Like it's little basic, like sort of, like I'd say like Hearthstone 101, where it's just sort of teaching you
within the game.
Yeah, go to your collection, dust a card. You will get 50 gold and 500 dust. So like you, it sort of is compensating you too as you do things. Craft a card, you get 50 gold, 400 dust, and so you get a lot of get a lot of the free stuff. But you're not playing against like new players. You're playing against like clearly you're playing against like Blizzbots, with Blizzbot decks. So like I crafted 2 things. I crafted Whizbang the Wonderful, to sort of cut through those initial ranks. And then when I realized I had enough dust for my treant list, which in total, when you craft it, is only 2,040 dust, I hit Wild Ladder with 7x. I did hit Legend with the deck. I came in at rank 334, which is absolutely good enough for 11x, but I will probably not touch the Treant account again. I will let it go to seed.
Wow.
Yeah. Other than that, tomorrow I'm hosting on my channel like a little mini off-meta tournament. We basically take I basically take the Tempo Storm report, and it's basically the Tempo Storm report plus Reno Hunter, and I say, okay, anybody who wants to sign up, we're going to bring one deck. You'll face off against somebody in a bracket. It's a best of one. Whoever wins moves on. And I try to cast every game, and it's sort of lightning rapid fire for however long it takes to get the tournament done. And I don't know if I'll have anyone casting with me, or it'll just be me yapping for an hour and a half, or however long it takes. But we've got 3 people signed up already, and I'm excited to do that next stream. And then, we've got Twist and stuff to do. So that's kind of been my week and what I was setting up. What was in the news, Hydra?
Welcome to the news. The news is so good.
Explore the new heroes in Twist. So Twist is back. Twist returns for a massive new season, Whiz Bang Heroes. So the idea here is there is 19 new heroes, each with a pre-made deck and a unique hero power and passive effect. So this all starts on June 1st, or if you are located in Asia, or actually at this point in time, I think EU may just be ramping up. So the idea here is if you want to play any of these decks, your hero is unlocked if you have the corresponding legendary in your collection. So each hero is named after a legendary, i.e. if you have Patches the Pirate in your collection, you will unlock the Patches hero and deck, and that will be available to you. Now, if you want to play any of the other decks, you will have to go to your collection and craft that specific card, and then you will now have that deck available to you. Fortunately, I think some of these are ones that we probably already have in our collections. So, and the barrier to entry will basically be, do you have that legendary? And then you can play the deck.
Yeah, pretty much. I've seen a little bit of people streaming this so far. I believe I'm not 100% sure how to pronounce their name, but Rekvam, Argentinian player, streamer, grandmaster in Hearthstone, was streaming a little bit of Twist. He's never played Twist before. He was having a lot of fun trying stuff out and trying the new decks, and we actually have 4 decks that I'd like to preview especially tonight as ones that sort of stood out from when I was watching him play.
Cool.
Let's start with the first one. Hydra, you were going to present this anyway tonight, so you want to talk to us about Patches?
I mean, yeah, that was the original plan when I, didn't realize I had a million things to do a whole entire week. I wanted to look at this so much closer than I actually did. Yeah, but you know me, I do love me some pirates, and so this is just, they're always very close to my heart. And what I do appreciate here is that we have the different, so there's different starting totals of health for each hero, right? And then we've got the different hero powers, the different passives. And so, I mean, I saw that we've got a lot of low cost pirates in here. We've got, obviously patches, Jolly Roger. We got a lot of like 1-drops here, right? And then it ramps all the way.
Swordfish,
We
toy
got
boat.
swordfish. Yep. We got toy boat. Can't even say it still. And then down at the bottom we got Mr. Smite there on the list, and Sky Barge, who's taking shots. So it's just something that really speaks to me, because I love that style in general.
Have you gotten to take a look at the passive yet?
I don't recall what the passive was.
So the passive is every time you summon a pirate, it deals 1 damage to a random enemy. So imagine that, like that classic pirate opener where you drop a 1-drop, and then do we have Parachute Brigand in this list? I don't think they have Parachute Brigand in the list. So you drop a 1-drop. Oh, yes, it is. There it is. There she is. Yeah, Parachute Brigand's in there. So you drop a 1-drop,
right in the middle.
and then Parachute Brigand comes down, and then Patches comes out of the deck. You're not only summoning 3 pirates, you're also dealing 3 damage randomly distributed amongst enemies. So, right off the bat, and then you're still playing pirates, churning out damage. Not just from your board, but also from also from just the passive is constantly chipping away. It's almost like there's like an invincible knife juggler, and that's stapled to your pirate deck.
We've got Harbor Scamp for draw. I mean, we've got Ankar
and the hero power. The hero power too. So the hero power is it starts as 3 mana, draw pirate. Cost reduced by 1 after you play a pirate. So every time you play a pirate, or is it play or is it summons? I can't forget. It says play here, but I wasn't sure if it was possibly summons. So that's being reduced constantly as you are playing pirates. Your hero power is basically a life tap that's snagging pirates. So it's strong. I think you do miss the dagger sometimes. I think you do miss not having a weapon to swing, especially because we have Defias Cannoneer and Puffer Fist and a couple of other cards that have synergy with weapons, but you don't always have a weapon equipped.
My favorite thing is that sometimes when you want to play a pirate rogue and you're like, oh, I love Pirate Warrior, used to anyways, and I don't have that card, right? Or playing Pirate Warrior, I wish I had this rogue card. Well, it's a combination of both if you look at the list.
It is kind of cool.
It's both decks mushed into one. It's that Swashbuckler is in the deck, right? Edwin is in the deck, but at the same time you got things Ankar in the deck. So it's really cool combination.
Yeah. And they're all kind of like that, where you have some cool combination of minions. So this looked like a good, if you have patches crafted, this is a good first stop, I think, for most wild players, especially if you like that aggressive style. It by far looked like the most aggressive list that I saw available. And it was actually so aggressive and so fast. I was wondering if even if this is one of the first heroes that's going to get balanced because of how aggressive it is, and how it can kind of blow people out off the gate, which isn't really something that's happening with a lot of the other lists.
In all honesty, if you've been playing Wild and you listen to this podcast, you have patches, right?
Oh yeah.
So this should be available to you right out the gate.
Good day one deck for sure, especially if you're looking to ladder fast. The next one I wanted to highlight that looked really cool was Alakir. So it's an elemental shaman. And it's you're playing shaman, you're playing elemental shaman, you're trying to play an elemental every turn, and you're trying to curve out, and you're trying to roll. And his passive is after you play a legendary elemental, call upon the power of an element. So Brucon's, his battle cry, you basically pick 2 elements to call upon.
Yeah.
Right. And so one's a fireball, one's heal, one's AoE, one's board presence. So every time you play a legendary elemental, that's the choice you're picking. So what you're seeing now is the elemental shaman early game, especially if you curve out, is pretty strong, right? Like you're making some larger bodies, you're making board presence. You're not necessarily going too wide, but you have a lot of things that are hard to remove that trade favorably. Okay, now you start dropping stuff like Mezzadune, and you start dropping stuff like if you curve into it, Kalimos or Scar, or like any of the basically legendary top end elementals, you basically get to pick to fireball your opponent in the face. So
this has Waxadread on it.
Oh yeah, well, Waxadread is a dragon and an elemental. So like you could drop Waxadread on 5, but it's not just Waxadread on 5. It can be Waxadread and an AoE. It can be Waxadread and you heal yourself. It can be Waxadread and you set up taunts. You Waxadread and you're smacking him in the face for 6 with a fireball. So like this, it's funny how like stuff is going to stick with this deck, and there's also a lot of reach built into this deck. Which is why it has a higher win rate. We have the win rates posted at the bottom of the little images right now on Donkey compared to, let's say, like Pirate Rogue. So like this also looks like it can snowball, and this also makes it look like it can go a little silly. That one actually surprised me. And what's nice about this one is you definitely have this deck because Alakir is in core. And so the core Alakir will actually unlock this deck and you'll get to play it. So that's a decent option too.
It looks like a lot of fun. And who doesn't love Simiot? I haven't played that card in a long time.
Yeah. Okay. So and here's the funny thing. I didn't even see what the hero power is. The hero power is, where is it? Obey my command. 1 mana. Give a minion Divine Shield and Taunt. So like you could always play Simiot. You can choose to fireball your opponent in the face, and then you get to pick, like, I don't know, like Rush and Wind Fury, and then for 1 extra mana, you can give it the Taunt and the Divine Shield if you want to.
You can also, like, if you've got Divine Shield and Taunt as a hero power, and you already have Rag on the board, you can keep protecting your Rag by
or
Divine
big
Shield
butts.
and taunting something else.
Right? Yeah, and it's elementals, right? They're all got big butts. Or they're all like, just favorably statted in general, like aside from like the fireflies and stuff. But you know what I mean? Like they're usually hard to remove. Like giving a minecart crasher, like it's a 3 mana 4/5. If you've played an elemental the previous turn, normally it's overload, but the overload's removed. Like so, you drop that sucker down, and now you throw taunt and Divine Shield on that. It's trading for free once. You're an aggro deck. You've got to trade at least 2 minions into it. Just good tempo into, oh my god, I'm getting a fireball in the face every turn. Why, oh why? Which is kind of cool. The next deck, I know you haven't heard yet. It is the most priest deck ever that has ever priested, right? So, looking at the list, what are your general just takeaways of like what you see as far as priesty stuff?
Well, obviously we've got like classics like Raza, right?
Huh?
We've got Solmir, definitely doing. Oh, we got Mass Hysteria.
Yep.
Doing Mass Hysteria stuff. Holy Nova. But we do have other things, Astalor's on this list and everything like that.
But, God, there's an Astalor on this list?
There is an Astalor.
Ew.
Yeah.
Ew.
Ivory
Okay,
Knight.
so
I've not seen Ivory Knight in a minute, but Kartut Defenders. Oh my gosh, that's an annoying card.
Are you ready for this?
Wickerframe.
I don't think you're ready for the passives.
Why is Wickerflame Burn Bristle in a priest deck?
I'll explain why he's in the priest deck because he goes great. You ready for the passive? The passive is called Purify the Shard. So she starts with 30 health. Her maximum health is 60. Reach 60 health to win the game.
What?
Damaging the enemy hero. Damaging the enemy hero heals your hero.
No. Oh no! This is so bad already. Bad.
It is so toxic to lose against.
That is why they have Wicker Flame Burn Bristle. Oh no.
Yeah. So think about it. Wicker Flame, when he swings phase, He's swinging face for 6 because he's not only healing you for 3, but he's also damaging the opponent for 3, and so he's progressing the quest by 6. So once you hit 60 health, it's GG's. You get sharded. So like it's a desperate it's a desperate struggle to stop Zyrella from healing up to 60 health and trying to apply pressure, while also like you kind of have to, you can't just ignore board, because if they hit you in the face, you're done. Like think about the final stage of Astalor spraying 14 damage. If all of that goes face, they're progressing their quest by 14. Forget your life total. They're reaching an alternate win con with that card. So like, yeah, it's she's kind of gross.
Wow. So here I was excited for Twist. Just kidding.
We'll you can always join them.
Been there. Yeah, I probably will. Not gonna lie. Do I need priest wins? I don't know if I need priest wins.
I don't know if they're counting. I don't know if they're counting. There's no win counter when you're playing them. Because again, like what, they don't necessarily like pick a class either. And
oh, that's interesting. I wonder if they should. I mean, like other Twist ranked games counted, right? So
yeah,
you would.
I'm hoping they count toward official win totals. Like I haven't checked to see if I'll have to check to see if I win a game if my counter goes up. But I'll probably have to like win a game, close the client, open the client, because total wins gets funky. It doesn't update live with each game. It almost updates every time you log in, which is a little funny. So like you have to keep track that way.
That I have not noticed. But yeah, okay, so it was funny. You had mentioned before that this is like the most priest has ever been. And yes. I did not look at the hero power and passive, and I was like, okay.
Oh yeah, and the hero power. I didn't even say the hero power. The hero power is like your usual, like, where is it? Oh, where's the hero power? 1 mana, restore 2 health. Mana Thirst 8, restore 4 health instead.
So if the game goes long, you're just even getting closer and closer.
It basically becomes Odd Warrior, except like Odd Warrior where like imagine you hit 60 armor or like, you know, an extra 30 armor, you actually just won the game. Maybe they need to install that for Odd Warrior. Maybe that's a win condition we need for Odd Warrior. So, yeah, so you wonder sometimes if like, especially something like that, you wonder if these are like possible effects for future cards. And so this is them trialing it out and seeing like, hey, is this something we want in our game or not? You look so disgusted. Just so distraught and disgusted.
Here's the thing.
It's perfect.
We talked, I believe it was on the last episode, about the fact that the new Twist decks, the new format was going to be, you know, these pre-generated decks, and it's going to be the same thing every time, and we're not going to have that innovation that deck builders enjoy. And so, you know, I switch a card out here or two, but I usually don't invent something from scratch. I just do what I feel fits best for me. But I'm looking at this stuff, and I'm actually thinking that each one that we've looked at so far is so diverse and kind of crazy. Yeah, that it's sounding actually pretty fun.
It's going to be fun if you have the cards, I think. Like again, and if there is going to be that diversity. Now, there is one deck that is standing out from all the other ones, and that is of all things, Arthas. Arthas has 35 health. His passive is if you play a Frost, Holy, Blood, Rune card, so it's one of those 3. Excavate. So you don't pay any money, like that. You don't pay any mana for an excavate card. It's just if you happen to play, if it's on blood and you play a blood card, you excavate. Swap to a different. That's a passive. Swap to a different rune. Legendary treasures are random. So I watched Rekvam get high rolled, and the person needed 7 damage, and basically they got the Warlock, Sneck. and stole 7 health from him, and he was like, what is this? So like this could be a possible counter to Priest, where if they can never actually reach 60 health, now they have to beat you on board. The hero power is 1 mana, spend up to 3 corpses. For each, reduce the cost of a card in your hand by 1. So we've seen this passive before. This passive was in duels. It was one of the better passives. And the thing is you'll notice that Arthas is a rainbow DK list. And so he's got right at the top end that climactic necrotic explosion.
Yeah.
So every time you're using that hero power and you're spending 3 corpses, you're juicing that up by 3. But not only that, you can also high roll and reduce the cost of the climactic necrotic explosion while you're doing that. While also making your Stitch Giant cheaper, while also making your, you've got corpse generators like Maw and Paw. Good cards like Threads of Despair that have been recently, shown to be strong contenders for removal in Standard. Fistful of Corpses, just good, solid DK cards. And right now, this list appears to have a win rate in the high 70s, which is at least, depending on how you look at it, 10, 15, 20 percentage points over the other decks. So freak stuff from the Excavates. You're mana cheating with the hero power. You're getting free value. You're throwing corpses out there. This might be the deck that they have to balance first for real, because it looks like the best deck. And of all things, you'd have to craft Arthas, which is really funny because I think Arthas was the card that there's always one. There's always one legendary that everybody was getting if you were played long enough before they had the duplicate protection. I had 2.
Yep.
I had 2 legendaries I was always getting. I was always getting the Beast, and I was always getting Arthas. I must have dusted Arthas like 3 times. Now, I have him crafted, and I said, all right, buddy, we're done. We're square. But it's just funny to me that a lot of other people, if they're interested in playing the best deck, and this is the danger of the game mode, if you want to play the best deck, you might have to craft a legendary that is not so good and not so playable in any other mode.
Yeah. Do you remember my Arthas story?
No. What was your Arthas story?
Knights of the Frozen Throne was announced, and they introduced, the Death Knights, and they showed ahead of time the Lich King, right? Who, at the end of each turn, you get one of the Lich King cards, right? Kind of like the way Ysera works. And then there was Arthas, which was a 4-mana 2/2 that also gave you one of the Lich King cards. Now, Hydra didn't read all of the text on Arthas.
Oh, no.
I thought that Arthas worked exactly the way that the Lich King did.
Oh,
so,
no. So you thought he was busted.
I did. And so before I opened any packs, I did the classic crafted in gold. I crafted the Lich King in gold, and I crafted Arthas in gold, and then I opened my packs.
Oh no, you have a gold Arthas, don't you?
No. So, you have to understand when this happened, I was nowhere near a full collection at the time, but I did want specific cards in gold that I knew I was going to play. And so I had crafted that golden Arthas, and that's a lot of dust, and got almost no use. I remember the first time I played it, and I'm like, where's my Lich King card?
Oh no. Meanwhile, you just played an under-tempo 4-mana, an under-tempo
2/2?
4-drop.
Yeah, and I'm like, I start hovering it, and I'm like, what happened? Like, what happened? And then I read it, because it's a death rattle, right? I was like, oh my gosh, no way.
It's so
I
much
can't
worse.
believe, and then I realized like how much dust I had spent, and at the time, spending 3,200 dust could craft you a deck, right? And
Yeah.
did that on one card, and oh man, my stomach sank. I felt so silly. But and then so you said, so you have Golden Arthas? No, I don't, because later on, obviously,
Toxic.
Arthas
Absolutely
was
toxic.
not seeing any play, and
Right.
I ended up.
So you send him to the farm upstate. Yeah.
I sent him to the farm.
live with your aunt. Yeah, unlucky.
And then later on, as I was building towards my full collection, I was like, I can't believe I'm doing this. I am now recrafting Arthas. I did it about
No. Yeah,
probably
I
like
did the same thing.
2
Took the
years
same dust
ago or
bath.
something.
Yeah.
And then recrafted Arthas, thinking like, wow, I cannot believe what I have done here. I actually one time accidentally disenchanted a golden patches because I was clicking too fast, and I sent Blizzard a ticket. This is actually back in Mean Streets to say, hey, can you? I didn't mean to click that. I clicked way too fast. Can you give me my dust back or give me my patches
No shot,
back?
you got it back.
No, they never answered.
No.
I was like, no, because I actually opened a golden patches back in the day, and then I somehow I don't know what I was doing. I
Did you have to
disenchanted and
recraft
freaked
them
out.
gold? Did you just
Oh,
take
yeah.
the dust bath? Oh my god.
I recrafted a gold, probably a few years later. But
Okay.
yeah, just Hydra. Why do you do this to yourself? It's just
Unlucky. And now we have meatball. Now we have meatball patches, which if you use your signature or your diamond as the seed for the deck, that will be the rarity as best as it can for the list that you use. So any cards in the list that can be signature, if you're using signature patches, will be signature. Any cards that can be diamond will be diamond. So that's a cool little thing that they did add, so that if you do have golden patches and you just want a golden deck, you'll get your golden deck. I don't know how you queue through the couple. If I'm forced to use meatball patches, I swear he's getting dusted. I swear, I hate that thing.
oh yeah,
I hate that thing so much. I opened meatball patches, and it's one of the it is in fact one of the greatest disappointments in my Hearthstone career. Greater than losing the Born to Be Wild finals, which Doc BMD is like, ouch. And so yeah, I despise meatball patches, but that's neither here nor there. What is here nor there is Twist actually is here and then not there and then here. So I'm not going to read the whole statement, but I will read some highlights. One of our main goals with Twist is to provide a space to try new things that we wouldn't necessarily try in ranked standard. We try things, we break things, we learn lessons, and then we do it all again. One of the things we are trying with this Twist season is messing with the balance cadence for the mode. Whiz-bang heroes have variable healths that we can quickly adjust, so we plan to make weekly hero health adjustments to respond with meta developments. All right? And so if something looks really strong, they'll just start knocking off the health of the hero. Or if things need a boost, they'll start by adding the health. And then if they want to mess with the passives or the deck lists or the hero powers, those will come at regular balance schedules. So already it's something, which one of the things that Twist has been haunted by is the fact that it does not get regular balance and maintenance enough, right? So at least this is something. After the June season, we will be bringing Whiz-Bang's heroes back for the July season with 9 additional heroes to try. So they're going to go back to the loony bin and try to add 9 more heroes to the fray to also be balanced. From the gameplay that I saw so far, maybe Arthas aside, everything looks pretty balanced and pretty fun. Like, they did a really nice job. If there's really one outlier, like, how many heroes do we have? 19?
Yeah.
If there's only one outlier out of 19 decks, and like Cthulhu sucks, but I kind of brought it up in the stream chat too. It's like, how do you balance the fact that the passive puts your win condition in your hand to start the game, and your hero power, your passive not only puts it in your hand, but also buffs him. And then your hero power makes Cthulhu minions. Like, it's probably tough to make a deck that also is not too strong where now I'm dropping my Cthulhu on 8 every time and just wiping my opponent out. Right? So, like, I actually have some sympathy for that. Cthulhu has, like, a 30% win rate. I was going to highlight it tonight, and I'm glad I didn't. Mostly I was excited just to play the card.
Right? I mean, it's cool. When I first looked at the list, I mean, I didn't go over it in major depth, but to see that Cthulhu had its own deck and looking at the cards and the synergies, it's fun. But when you have something like Arthas ruling the meta in the first day, I guess.
It's not even been a day.
But,
it's been hours. It's been hours.
Yeah.
Things can change.
Yeah, it's like
People
9
could find
o'clock
out.
my time this morning, I guess. It started in Asia, right?
Yeah, I was going to highlight, the other hero I was going to highlight wasn't even one of these choices. I was going to highlight Nosdormu because his hero power is like, his passive is like start with an extra mana crystal forever, right? So you start with an extra mana crystal, you're already ramping. His hero power draws a dragon and reduces it, I think, by 1. So it's drawing, it's mana cheating, he's starting with extra mana, and the only downside is you have 30 seconds to take your turn, which is 15 additional seconds to what we're used to when we're normally doing a Nosdormu. So this is like no penalty whatsoever for just free stuff. So I'm interested to see. There's no data on that deck yet. That deck might be good. I don't know. My instinct tells me that deck would be good. It's just whether or not it can do well in the Arthas.
Is that if you have OG Nosdormu?
That's OG Nosdormu. So no one's going to have that. And so I'm going to be the only one playing it, apparently. So we'll bring 9 more heroes back for July. After the July season, it's going to take a break again. They really like the idea of it. They really like the idea of it being an off and on mode, making it more special. I don't know if I necessarily buy that.
Yeah, I've seen some. Obviously, there's been some people, some upset people. We've even talked about it. Like, why is it going down?
Yeah.
Why can't you just repeat last season? That sort
I'm sure
of
it's
thing.
very labor intensive.
And
they say it's very labor intensive, and that's probably the main part of it, right?
That's the answer that we are getting, is that it's harder to maintain than you think it is harder to maintain. So, and possibly balance reasons, because it's a whole other format that say they do run something multiple times, do they really want to adjust a card for a mode that's only temporary? So let's keep it up for a short amount of time and then switch things up, because that doesn't really make any sense to, balance something that's going to affect the entire game, I guess. So I can see both sides.
Yeah. But like those off months, you really want a third ladder and it's not there, and you're like, They will be bringing back Wonders, the Wonders format, and they will be bringing back the Caverns of Time set.
Let's go.
To give them another try before the year ends. Once those 2 seasons have wrapped, Twist will be dark again through the end of the year. We'll give you more updates on the upcoming Twist seasons closer to when they go live. For now, we hope you enjoy Whizbang Heroes. The fun starts on June 1st. So we'll get to see Wonders again. Hopefully, I forget the entire Wonders format, but I just remember it was impossibly boring because it was basically wild at the time. It was like Questline DH, and it was like Overload Shaman, and it was like Questline Druid. It was not inspiring. Caverns of Time was Caverns of Time. I don't know. Like,
yeah,
it was kind of cool when it was happening. And then, like,
because it was new.
Because it was new, and then, like, the final analysis came in, and you're looking at it, and you're like, we've got a couple of playable cards, and then, like, a lot more harm. So, I don't know. We'll see. Maybe Caverns of Time, when it comes around, they'll do it a little bit different. And I think that's basically our major news. I think something we missed last week, you've been doing your dailies, did you notice, and your weeklies, did you notice that it was play instead of win for some of them?
Yes, I did notice, because what is it? They ramped it up from win 5 games to win 10 games, and then now it is play 5 games, if I'm saying that correctly. And it was kind of funny because I'm pretty sure once they made the change, I was like at 9 out of 10 or something anyway. So I was like, thanks.
That's right. Honestly,
but yeah.
I at one point I had viewer decks that were so bad that like I wasn't there yet. I hadn't completed it yet, and then all of a sudden I'm just sort of running through, and I'm just like, oh, this is just play. This is great. We're doing great here. Or especially when it comes to like I think they changed the arena one too. Like just like play 10 brawls. You don't have to win 10 brawls. Play 10 arena games. You don't have to win.
Does it say that? Oh man, I totally. If that is true, I regret tossing that one.
I'm going to get feedback later, just like, nah, Schmoopy, you lied to Hydra. You crushed his hopes and dreams. I think that was one of the changes, though. I
just because I insta-toss that one every single time. Arena, yes, I have over 20 tickets, and I should be playing Arena, but I have not used them in a long time.
Should I try to coach you up on Arena? I'm not as good in this arena as I was in the last arena.
It's kind of funny. My Arena stats are absolutely hilarious. So I have a 9-win key for Arena, which isn't half bad, but I have, it's like double digits of total win games. Like it's actually double digits. I think it's like 65 or 85.
Oh my god!
Yeah, and with a 9-win key, which is so funny. It's hilarious how little I played that mode. I played it in the start of my Hearthstone tenure, and I have not touched it in so long. The only thing I knew about was I played for tempo, like make a curve. If you have something that's like bone mare, that's kind of cool, that, you can make something better and put a body on board, play that card, that kind of stuff. But
play that card. Yeah. Mine were more embarrassing than that, I think, until recently, because I think my best key was like a 6. And I had like 300 wins, because I was literally just like, there was a period of time early where like I remember early watching Raffle, where I was like, okay, yeah, the best way to develop value for your collection is to play Arena. So it's like, okay, I'm gonna play Arena, and I was getting like 1 win, 2 wins, 1 win. So I basically like mained Arena, not mained, but I was playing like anytime I was getting gold, instead of like buying a pack, I was like going and playing Arena with it, and then not getting my value for gold. So like I'm pretty sure my lifetime Arena stats are absolutely abysmal. They're probably shockingly bad. But they're getting better now. I'm at least always getting 3 wins, which is getting me equivalent to my 150 gold back. I'm not going infinite, but I'm at least getting my value back, which is my current goal. So
what is it? 7 wins for infinite?
7 wins for infinite. You always get your gold, your 150 back, and then you're just it's a free classic run. So ideally you get there, but I'm not there yet. I'm still learning the format. This wasn't even our discussion topic. Discussion topic, which is also a fun one, is the latest Tempo Storm meta report that came out May 29th. First and foremost, I really want to like spend time on the overview more than the actual meta itself. The meta hasn't changed too much other than just deleting Even Paladin. 3 best decks in the format. What's the key theme here, Hydra?
Rogue again.
Rogue. Hey, look, it's the Secret Passage class, and the top 3 decks are Miracle Rogue, Garrote Rogue, Pirate Rogue.
Not to mention in tier 2, Kingsbane Rogue.
Yeah, Kingsbane Rogue. Right. I'll probably, tomorrow's the first of the month, I'll probably play some Kingsbane Rogue. I might play that up to D5, since it's a nice mix of when it needs to go fast, it's the aggressor, but against like Pirate Rogue or against Shadow Priest, we do have Blade Flurry and Lifesteal available to us, so it can play the control if I need to too. So it's probably my go-to. It's what Shumi Mommy hit legend with this month, so that's probably where I'm going. But that's like middle of tier 2. That's a fine option too. Other decks are Egg Hunter, which is the Huhuran Hunter that Tom did such a nice job refining. The Reno Paladin, Reno Shaman. Yes, Reno Paladin. Reno Paladin because it has efficient answers to the Miracle Rogue. It farms the basically the top rogue decks, so it does very well in the top tier.
I'm glad this actually validates a loss I took during the week. Just
You were sad that you lost to Reno Paladin?
Well, yeah, I didn't know it was tier 1. And I was like,
it's a very good deck.
I was like, what's happening?
What's happening? What is this? Why am I losing? And I honestly, remember, Mysterious Challenger is now a 5-mana 5/5. There's a very popular build that runs a secret package. And so you drop your Mysterious Challenger on 5. It's like drawing 5 cards. So, like, you know, it's back. It's back, baby. It's using Reno Lone Ranger, and it uses Cariel, and it uses... what's the 3-mana 3/4 that puts an Oasis in your hand, so you're constantly getting copies of your other cards. One thing that Standard loves right now is the Ziliax build called Unkiliax is the nickname. It's the one that it's an 8-mana elusive reborn rush poisonous lifesteal taunt. And so that's cool. Like, you drop that and Miracle Rogues basically explode. But one thing that they don't have access to in Standard that we do is Timeline Accelerator. So on 3, we play a 3-mana 2/2, and we have 40 health, so we could care less if we take a little extra damage. And on turn 6, we drop on Unkiliax. And what's also kind of fun is not only do we have Unkiliax now die multiple times because of the reborn aspect, we also run Kangor's Army. Do you remember spending dust on Kangor's Army?
I have that one gold.
Kangor's Army's back, bringing
Kangor's
back
Endless Army.
more Unkiliaxes. Yay! And possibly the Titan, or not the Titan, possibly the Colossal, the Dredge Colossal, or possibly your Timeline Accelerator. Or you don't care because you have 2 Unkiliaxes and your rogue opponent is weeping tears. Reno Paladin's real. It runs Zeph, it runs Reno, it runs Cariel, it runs Reno Lone Ranger, Say No More, Say No More. It runs Enter the Colosseum. Nice board of giants on turn 3. I will play Enter the Colosseum, and now you have 1/8/8. I will take your concede whenever you are ready. So, good deck. Reno Shaman, does Reno Shaman stuff. Aggro Priest does Aggro Priesty stuff. Reno Druid, and what's this? What's this at the bottom, Hydra? What's this last deck?
It's not dead. It's Quest Mage.
It's just different. One of the things that's absolutely farming the Demon Seed, or was farming the Demon Seed, the meta shifted a little bit now, and it's not as strong as it was, but this version of Quest Mage that looks to complete the quest and then basically draw your entire deck, get to the end of your deck, and then play basically Ignite Mage. You play either Luna or you play the Elemental, and you throw the Ignite in, and the only spell it draws is the Ignite, and then you throw the Ignite, and it's free because you have 4 Sorcerer's Apprentices, and then you throw the Ignite, and you just basically repeat that, and all the quest is doing is just buying you a turn to set up this combo.
In all honesty, I really appreciate, like, while I hated Quest Mage, I loved playing Ignite Mage. They're not the same thing, but
this is like a hell hybrid of the two of them, just slapped together.
Yeah. So I will take this over the previous version.
At least you die, like, when you die. It's not like you're waiting 15 minutes to figure out if your opponent screws up. So, like, it's fine. It's fine.
Or even
it's
in the
not
past,
fine,
when,
it's all right.
when we were playing Uncle Tony version, and we're like, are they gonna pull it off?
Oh yeah, you could throw Tony in there too. Like, some people do Tony instead of the Ignite. So it's like the same build. It's just like it's 1 card difference really as you're running Tony. I think you run. I didn't wonder if the Tony support is really 2 card difference. I don't know, but like I know Maxibon plays a lot of the Tony version. I think it's a little less flexible because as opposed to you need 4 Sorcerer's Apprentices for sure for the Tony version. For the Ignite version, you can get away with just having 2. So you ideally want more than that, but like push comes to shove, you can sort of get by with 2.
Yeah.
But that isn't really the most interesting part of the report. The report kind of had this Really great thoughts and observation section. Mostly at first, pointing to and outlining the fact that the Demon Seed is kind of a bad deck. It's brought up a lot of discussion in the community about how to deal with it because some people just hate playing against it. But it's not, not moving the goalposts of, well, it's really good and I hate playing against it. Well, no, it's not really good. You just hate playing against it. And so I will read the following 4 paragraphs of this section that NHL fan wrote out because I think they outline an interesting discussion. The shifts in the meta after the metagame after the mini set have led to a few discussions on what constitutes a need for balance changes. As seen with Questline Warlock, there are players that don't enjoy decks that have certain levels of inevitability. Quest Mage's return is another example of inevitable finishers that don't care about the opponent's life total. How strong does a deck have to be to warrant a nerf? What threshold, if any, denotes the line between what's acceptable and what isn't? The current tier list doesn't have any power outliers that our experts can identify. So even though the whole top of the list is all rogue, as disgusting as Miracle Rogue is, it's still not like S tier. It's not a power outlier that's pushing it above everything else. All right, just to keep that in context. Even the strongest decks have counters to keep them in check. If something has changed, then it would have to be solely based on player sentiment. But sentiment is often also tied to a deck's performance. The more a deck wins, the more likely it gets to do what other players are frustrated by. Are you at that point with such decks such as Questline Warlock and Quest Mage? Our experts aren't sure. Performance aside, there are plenty of other decks with feels bad strategies right now. Egg Hunter kills an enemy board and makes a new one every turn. Togwaggle Druid swaps decks and creates an insurmountable board as early as turn 5 to effectively win the game. Even Reno, Lone Ranger, has poor sentiment because it stops the opponent from recovering from a clear. If every deck is doing something like this, when do the likes of Questline Warlock and Quest Mage really stick out? We don't think so. Some might say nerf it all, and with that, there's an argument to be made, but Team 5 has made their stance clear that they prefer not to balance Wild as often as they do other formats. Mass nerfs are off the table for now, and it doesn't make any sense to nerf only a few decks that feel bad, while everything else still feels like a similar problem. So what would any changes actually achieve? We don't think this is the right hill to die on. The Wild format is in a decent place right now. Let players who are having fun enjoy it. Thoughts on any of that, Hydra?
Yes. So the question being, at what point is certain things like Questline, Mage, and Warlock something we need to touch when they're nowhere near the top of this list? I think that this all depends on how these decks are being displayed publicly. So I'm going to give an example of back in the day, and I've spoke about this before, of when I very first made a mid-range shaman a very long time ago, and I had no idea that that deck was perceived publicly as toxic. I made that deck, it was cool, it was fun, and when I beat somebody with it, I got a rage ad, and this person was extremely angry. I had no idea. I was not online, on forums, on Twitch, on anything at that point in time. I had just made something that looked fun to play, right?
Right.
And I was having fun with the game. Now, for all I knew, on platforms like this, that deck was being called out as a toxic, insane deck with a really high win rate. Maybe it did have a high win rate. Maybe it didn't. Maybe it had a perfect counter at the time. I didn't know. I wasn't good enough at the time to tell you. But things like the Demon Seed, it's a notorious card, right? So it's come, it's gone, it's seen different iterations. It came back, and something like that can seem scary. And if people are outspoken about it and have an audience, people are naturally going to be afraid of the card. And I think that things like that can sort of spread. And even if it's not necessarily true, but yes, it does feel bad. A lot of these things can feel bad. When you get wiped by a pirate rogue, like, and you lost on turn 4, you're like, well, that was
turn 4 these days. Like sometimes the opener, you look at the opener and you say, I cannot. I'm going to take a billion from this.
You
treasure
just concede,
distributor.
right?
Yeah.
But like, how is that different from feeling hopeless against the Demon Seed? It really isn't, right? No. And both decks can completely high roll, and as you can see here, we have Pirate Rogue up there, and I don't see the Warlock deck up there. So
no, the Warlock deck is Warlock deck is the first deck mentioned in tier 3. I think somewhat out of respect, since it is warping the meta a bit. I think on this list of decks, there are only, I would say, 2, maybe 3 it could reliably pick on. It dumpsters Reno Shaman, which is good. We don't want too much Reno Shaman. Who wants to play that many Shutterwalk Shamans in a row? Reno Druid it kind of picks on, and Reno Paladin is probably close to like 50-50, because Reno Paladin has some answers and some burst that the other 2 decks don't necessarily have. And can also pack some of the same disruption that Reno Shaman has. But like at Reno Druid can ramp up and then, just Astalore you down. I've had that happen to me playing the Demon Seed before. Like it's if people don't like the Demon Seed, I think a lot of times it's because they're playing like super greedy decks and they want to play their big fun value bombs. And when they get farmed by the Demon Seed, they're just like, well, I was never going to win that game. I have no chance of winning that game. But at the same time, it's like, well, if you did a monochrome of face damage or kept the tempo up or had good clears, I mean, I've demonstrated how to beat the Demon Seed with a Reno deck. That's mostly based on value. It doesn't require a certain approach. Sorry, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say that back to the perception, right? So if your view from seeing people talk about a deck, saying that it's toxic, when you go into a matchup, right, and you have that preconception of how this is going to go ahead of time, you already feel like you're hopeless, like you're going to lose, and you think it's toxic already because someone told you it was, right? And stats show that it's nowhere near as powerful as one may think. So if you're going in thinking you're going to lose, well, guess what? You've got a way higher chance of losing than you thought, because you're not being optimistic about it. Yeah, you're already tilted. You have a bad attitude about it, and guess what? You're probably going to lose at this point, because you're not thinking about, all right, let's go. This is a regular match. Let's think about what are my outs going to be? What are my strategy going into this match? How do I beat this deck? Not like, oh, this is toxic, like bottom right, and just be angry about it, right?
I do think it's like it has to be lower down the ladder. And it's funny, again, playing my free to play, I didn't see that many seed locks. Like, people are switching off of it because people are losing. It's not fun to play something that loses a bunch. And I was playing Treant Druid. My second boss fight was a seed lock. Raxius in my chat was like, did we just hit legend? Like, is this this is free, right? I'm like, yeah, it's pretty much free. Like, it's like, there are other decks that pick on it. Again, Miracle Rogue, Garrote Rogue, Pirate Rogue, Egg Hunter, Aggro Priest, Kingsbane Rogue, Quest Mage. If those aren't 70-30 matchups in favor of those decks into the Demon Seed, I'd be shocked. It's at least 70-30, probably better in some cases. Probably much better in some cases, like Garrote or something like that. Like, you just absolutely waffle stomp the Demon Seed. So it becomes almost more like a, okay, is it like Pirate Warrior, which was just a noob stomper deck that people absolutely hated the quest line, they hated the play pattern, they hated playing against the deck. They hated it so much that even though it sucks, they will not revert the quest line. That's a deck that we've lost the time. And I think we'll have lost it for a long time. I don't know if it ever gets reverted. And not only that, if they keep printing like cheap neutral pirates like Treasure Distributor, maybe it can't get reverted. I don't know. It is a little blurry. I feel like there has to be an element of not only player sentiment, but performance as well. Turtle Mage is the one that sticks out in my mind. That was like a tier 2 deck that got nerfed.
Yeah.
Because the play pattern was just so egregious and so weird. I think Egg Hunter, not going to lie, like when the shine wears off that, when it gets rolling, you really can't stick a board. Like it's a duels deck. Like you just keep infinitely trading for free until you draw your patches, and then you can Finley them back in if you really want to. Something like that I feel like is more likely to get touched based on feels, because it is like, okay, maybe we shouldn't have infinite 0-mana Mok'Nathal Lions. Maybe that's something that shouldn't exist in the game. That almost feels more likely to me than nerfing something like, what was it? Like this Quest Mage combo. Like, it's a combo deck. It folds to aggro. It folds to the slightest breeze of disruption. Demon Seed folds to the slightest breeze of face damage. It's going to have to come down to player sentiment, and I don't know where this player sentiment was when we had Fatigue Seedlock doing okay, better than it is now, for several expansions, right? Like what we were in Festival of Legends, we were talking about it as a deck you should play, or consider playing competitively. Before that, it was like an okay deck to play. Where are all these voices now? I guess it's the mass production kind of card is the thing that sort of brought back the Giants version and the Dark Glare, and people got PTSD, but it is a really blurry line. I just don't think we're there yet. And I don't necessarily disagree with nerfing it at some point. I don't think it needs to be banned. I don't think you ban wild-only cards. You nerf them. Dummies. You get, like, you just delete the card. Like, you don't have to ban it. You just get rid of it.
You warsaw
But I don't think we're there yet. And that's the thing, is the format's only going to get faster. And combo's only going to get faster. And aggro's only going to get more efficient. So, like,
and you know what?
It's going to get grosser.
Look at this list. There are, I remember times in the past where people were saying, you know, like Reno decks in the future, they're not going to be enough, right? Because like woohoo. Singleton, and it like eventually they will fade into the oblivion. And this is going like a few years back at this point, but
Sure.
I see 3 on this list in the top 2 tiers.
Reno Renathal decks. One deck uses over 10 mana. One deck can go infinite with their win condition. One deck has a weapon that means that you take half the damage you should from a damage source.
So the
And
point
so it's
being
like,
that they're not just supporting aggro that's going to destroy Singleton Reno decks.
yeah.
That they're supporting the Reno Singleton style as well, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And
To
like,
your point, like
Showdown was recently nerfed. I still see Reno Paladins playing it. It still has its uses. It also dilutes a raised dead pool, by the way. Sorry, Demon Seed. Enjoy the 2 cowboys you got. So like there's you're not wrong. They are making a lot of clears more efficient too. And not necessarily only for like Warlock or Priest. We're seeing actually some of the most efficient clears recently have been in Paladin, which is weird. But like, you know, Paladin is like, they're not quite sure what to do at Paladin. They're always throwing stuff at Paladin and being like, okay, let's slap this guy on. He's got Librams, he's got this, he's got that. Clears, sure. Healing, kind of. Offensive stuff, at least the auras is pretty consistent though. So I don't know. I thought that discussion was worth having. As far as like where we think the line is, and I think we both kind of agree. For us at least, it's further than it is now. It's further than it is now, especially while things have counters, especially while things aren't necessarily very strong. I'm terrified.
Unrelated Advice with Schmoopiedady.
Schmoopiedady, you have children, right?
I do.
Do you also have pets?
No.
No.
No,
Okay, so this will be...
no more than one thing pooping on my floor at a time. That's my rule in my house.
But you have two
Absolutely
kids.
not. Yeah. So like, you know,
already
when
broke the
they're
rule.
finally trained, we'll work on the pet. All right.
So I've got this cat that many of the listeners may have come to know and love just by hearing her scream at me during the episode sometimes for attention because I am speaking to a glowing box instead of her, right?
Fair enough.
Now,
Fair enough.
That's not the issue. So my cat, her name is Rory, and I have had Rory next month. She'll be 17. So, and I have had her that entire time. Now, recently, Mrs. Hydra has started doing something where if she's sitting on the couch and she's eating, she will put a little piece of food on the armrest of the couch and Rory will eat it. Right? Like a little piece of chicken or like little piece of the meat off her hot dog or something like that, like some sort of little piece of meat.
Okay.
It started off being cute, Schmoopiedady.
Okay.
And innocent. And then it got to a point where we were making food and I would ask my wife, Mrs. Hydra, okay, I'm going to make burgers or hot dogs or chicken or whatever it is. How many pieces would you like? And she started asking for more food than normal. And I wasn't really thinking. She's like, yeah, I'll take 2 hot dogs, but can you make me an extra wiener? And I was like, oh, maybe she just doesn't want the carbs and is going to eat just a wiener on the side. Right. And so that's where my head's at. And cause quite often we'll sit around our couch and watch TV, whatever, when, we're eating. We're not always formal and sit over at the dining room table.
Sure.
Anyways,
Yeah. We are.
so I go and I look and I see her cutting up like whatever piece of meat it is. Maybe it's an extra piece of chicken. Maybe it's an extra hot dog, whatever it is. And she's put a napkin down on the armrest and giving her this meat. And it's okay. So now the cat is getting used to eating dinner and our dinner when we're like, it's our turn. This is not your food. I was like, okay, maybe we should stop. It's a bit much. It is now at the point where we have stopped and she still sits there on the edge of the couch. And if you have your fork, and you scoop up food and go to put it in your mouth, she reaches out and grabs your fork and pulls it towards her face. Like, not even kidding. She stole a Dorito out of my hand. A Dorito. Right? Like, it is beyond, like, it'll be food that she's not even interested in.
No, she's just trying to establish dominance at this point.
It's lasagna or it's like whatever. She will reach out and she will grab it. Like I said, she stole the Dorito. It was jalapeno Doritos. She probably didn't like the spice anyways, but she's now taking the food. She has gone 16 years and now into her 17th year. She's now taking our food because of this behavior. They say you can't teach an old dog new tricks, but this old cat definitely learned a new trick.
Or you can learn bagging anytime. Yeah, sure.
But what do I do?
I think the only thing that you really can do at this point is you need to set up a demilitarized zone. Maybe you secede the cat that armrest. You put up barbed wire, concrete barriers. I don't know, maybe you lay down like some catnip on like a mouse toy or something like that. And the minute that the cat tries to cross the barbed wire, I would expect alarms, loud sounds, get Mini Hydra in here wherever he is. He's probably on his bunk or something like that, right? Get Private dressed and ready for guard duty. I don't know, with a spray bottle or something, and repel the invader. Because it's all hope is lost at this point. You're just trying to contain the damage as best you can, because you're dealing with a vicious cat now, and this cat wants that food. So
now here's the final question.
Yes.
As Mrs. Hydra has asked, like, she's old. Let's just do it. Do you agree, or are we full on barbed wire?
I think you can go either way. I think happy wife, happy life. I think I would set up the barbed wire, and then when I get yelled at, I'm going to have to rent one of those skid steers.
Wiser words have never been spoken, and you heard that on...
Or to be wild.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh no. That's not a good situation.